Hello, everyone. Welcome to the weekly show of Classroom Without Walls, episode 138. My name is AI. I'm the host of this weekly live streaming show. And we're also on audio podcast that you can listen to. And on this show, I interview leading social media, digital marketers, entrepreneurs, business leaders to come here and to share with us their best practices so that we can future-proof our business. And today we are talking about copywriting. And join me live is the one and only Terry Schilling. And
Hi.
Terry is a seasoned copywriter. He has 10 plus years experience in copywriting and has worked with quite a few popular brands, including Airbnb, AM Resorts, American Diabetes Association, and quite a few other places. And I have been a fan of Terry, and I downloaded all of his freebies. And I learned a lot from his work and from his tips on copywriting. We are all in for a treat. You are going to walk away from today's interview with a much better understanding of best practices for copywriting and how you can become memorable and also profitable through the copies that you are producing. And we're also going to discuss the importance of psychology and why and how you can tap into psychology to make your copies more effective and more persuasive. And we're also going to talk about some common mistakes to avoid and some best practices to help you to stand out. And also we're going to discuss headlines and Terry's proven method to draft headlines. So much good stuff. And make sure you stay until the end. We are live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Twitch, on Periscope. And let me know in the comment section where you guys are joining us live from, social media wise and geographically speaking. And Terry, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. What an introduction. This is going to be a loaded hour of just insight and talking copy and sharing stories, I imagine, too. This is going to be incredible. I'm so happy, too, that you welcomed me on your show.
Oh, of course. I'm a fan. And as mentioned, Terry is actually the first guest on my show over the last 3 years talking about copywriting. And besides Julia McCoy, I guess we did talk about content creation, but this is actually the first person talking about copywriting. And I'm really excited. Yeah. So share with us, Terry, and you have, as I mentioned earlier, 10 plus years in this space. So share with us what inspired you to become a copywriter. What is your story? What is your why?
Oh, wow. Yes. So for me, it goes back to me being in high school of really enjoying telling stories and especially being really into sports. And that made me want to do sports broadcast journalism in college. And so I went there and studied that all 4.5 years. I stayed an extra half victory lap in college. But I was really passionate about it and I really enjoyed the production and the writing aspect of things. But I graduated at a time where it was really tough. Financial crisis was going on early 2009 and did not have a lot of job opportunities. And Dr. I, the ones that I did were just really low paying. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't get over that hump of just moving up my entire life from the suburbs of Chicago and just living in this small town, getting paid very, minimally. And so I stayed home and did some marketing jobs. And really what changed for me though, was actually getting a bartending and waiter job. So bartending tables, I was meeting a ton of people and one guy who owned an agency nearby, and he got to know a little bit more about what I do and my background, and then offered me a job as a junior copywriter at his company. And so then I started there, and that really got me into the advertising marketing world. And so I got introduced to a lot and was working with some really big brands right away.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I got to be in like these pitch meetings and be on all these different client meetings too, and kind of get to see how people react and what, is expected of my duties as well. Because a lot of my, experience and knowledge of copywriting came from, just TV shows like Mad Men and just like seeing ads and hearing like, hey, read that radio copy from like radio ads. So I didn't know too much about it. So it was kind of like write the hook, write the hook, write the hook all the time, like the hook and the taglines. But there was so much more to that. And I just got really into it and just started educating myself a little more about how I can motivate more people to take action. And so just started reading more books and getting a lot of more resources under my belt. And that's where I kind of got more familiar with the psychology side of things. And then in April of 2018, I decided to leave my job at the agency and start my own job as a full-time freelance copywriter. And now it's really evolved into, my own like creative marketing / copywriting business, Terry Schilling Creative. And it's been great. And I've been doing a lot of different content and a lot of other things and get to talk to people like you and meet people like you, which is always really cool. One of the best parts about this, just kind of being on your own. It's just like having that type of flexibility and choosing some of the projects you get to work on.
Totally, I love it. And I'm sure with everyone being online so much, I am just at the Inbound conference this week, and I my own talk, and I sit in on a few talks, and everyone's talking about even the email opening rate has increased. People are spending more time online. I'm sure more people are needing what you do, this type of service. So I want to ask you, Terry, what does being a copywriter mean to you? What are some clear like objectives or outcomes that you think a good copywriter aims to accomplish?
Yeah. From a personal side, copywriting in general, and just to get a little bit back to the why things, it's just giving me a little bit more, it's giving me way more of a purpose just in life and kind of what I do, because words get people to take action, and then that action helps twofold. It helps the company make money, and it helps the company in some way of who I'm writing the copy for. And then it also helps the reader, the customer. Good copy should, let them know how they can improve their lives. So with that said, writing these words and what copywriting means, it's meaning that you're going to help transform people's lives really at the end of it. And you can help your clients and the company, and then you can help the people and their customers, just find a way to really change their lives. Like, because that's what really marketing, to me, like the marketing philosophy is just, how can we improve people's lives? How does their life change compared to like bragging about yourself all the time?
Totally. I think for most people who are like on social media for quite some time, we all went through this journey, right? Started using social media for fun, then talking about yourself, and then eventually started to use it to focus on our like target audience, our clients, and the people that we can actually have an impact on. Right. And so I want to ask you, do you think there are like some differences between a copywriter and a content creator? I feel like that we use the word content creator a lot. And even myself, I use content creator, copywriter interchangeably. But I want to ask you, a pro on this topic. So what do you think are the differences between content creator and copywriter?
Yeah, this is a great question, Dr. And it's interesting because copywriters have really one significant goal. It's like this one goal that they chase, and that's really to get the reader to take action, right? So that's what it is. We're getting these words to persuade them in some way. Now, when it comes to content writing, content creation, you could have a lot of goals. Like one of them could be for them to take action in some way of downloading a free form, but also it's like building brand awareness. It could just be educational, informational purposes of what you're doing in content creation. So you're offering value to other people, but you're not necessarily have this one just goal in mind per se. But at the end of the day, like if you're a content creator, you're selling something and you're marketing something online, you're kind of a copywriter. Because if you're writing captions, if you're writing email subject lines in your emails, and you want the reader to do something, that's copy. You're copywriting there. And it's just like some people struggle with certain ways of, getting, suffering from writer's block or talking about themselves too much. Yeah. Don't know a lot of these, formulas or how to structure it better, but it's a very valuable skill.
Yeah, I so agree. Even before we went live, you and I were talking about, I think the last year or so, my business has grown a lot. And I think one big difference was because I finally understood the power of writing effective copies. Before I was like, just like talking about myself, blah, blah, blah. But now my content is a lot more strategic, and intentional. And we're going to discuss later, features versus benefits and all the other good stuff. And I want to ask you, like you have been in this industry for quite a few, almost a decade.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can relate to this. So I have only been an entrepreneur for a year or so.
Wow.
And like most copies online that I reviewed are just forgettable, right? After a day or so, it's like, what did this person talk about? And very few are actually memorable, and even fewer are actually profitable.
Right.
So I want to ask you, you have been in this industry for way longer than me. And what do you think are some like common mistakes that entrepreneurs, small business owners, and content creators make in terms of creating content with the intention to convert, to generate more leads, to make more money? So share that with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've touched on it a little bit of talking about ourselves so much, but it's really natural to do that. Like we feel proud of ourselves. We like talking about ourselves. Sometimes we see it in regular conversations. We want to bring it back to us. We like that attention. But when you're writing copy, that's just going to tell yourself or tell the reader that they think they're going to think you're cooler than them. And so what I like to say, Dr. I, is that great copy should tell people how cool they can be instead of how cool you are. And so what I see a lot is we are this, we are transforming, we are redefining. I am a blank. Like we start with we and I's in our statements. And so one thing that I like to do is look at your copy and do the we test. So how many of those we statements, the we, the I, the our, the my, can we take out and reframe it to use the word you or your? So that way we're talking to the customer, right? And so one good example, and I was listening to a podcast, the How I Built This podcast with Guy Raz from NPR, and he had the creator of Ring on it, the Wi-Fi doorbell, the video doorbell. And he talked about how the big aha moment for how they were going to like sell this and communicate the message was when a customer started talking about how, one of my neighbor's houses got robbed. And I thought to myself, if I had this doorbell, I could pretend I'm home and I could feel safe. I could have this peace of mind. And so there was the benefit of the benefit. So what I mean by that, the benefit of the benefit is that the benefit is this doorbell, right? That you can answer the door from anywhere, right? But the emotional benefit is just having a neighborhood feel safe and having this peace of mind. And so if we can reframe that, we can figure out what is the benefit of the benefit and use that in our copy. That's really just going to compel more people to take action. It's going to connect with them. They're going to feel more engaged. They're ultimately going to feel like you're listening to them, right? Instead of just talking about yourself. Because if you're just using these empty statements and talking about yourself, what they're doing is just reading words at that point. They're not really reading words that have them imagine themselves in their, like being their best self.
Yeah. So share with us, why is that important, right? Like I love how even when you are talking, I can almost visualize and paint this like being really safe, especially we have like a few children, like that picture makes me feel good. So why is that important?
Yeah, because it taps into a little bit of the psychology of things, because like as humans, we like to visualize things. We like to, like when we hear a story, like we can start picturing ourselves in that story. Like just similar to how you did. So that story necessarily wasn't about you, but you could just picture yourself now answering the doorbell from your phone and being like, yeah, I'm home right now. Like leave the package there, right? You could do that. And so it's just important of getting people to visualize things, because like we like, as humans, like we like to see ourselves taking action. And by using the word you and your, what you're doing is, again, you're putting them in the driver's seat. So they're seeing themselves answer the door from anywhere. They're seeing themselves check this off their list. They're seeing themselves save time and money and have more time in their day to play with their kids or work on things that make them happy, different things like that. So you're just kind of reframing it where, they see themselves doing the good instead of you acting like your stuff is the best and doesn't stink.
Yeah, let them like envision that future, right? So that is something that we do in sales talks, right? You ask your lead, hey, where are you now? What are the pain points? And you also ask them to visualize the future and let them experience the gap.
Yes, exactly. As consumers, we want to go from where we are right now to where we ultimately want to be. Right. So we buy things to solve problems. And yes, they make us feel good. And that's what really good marketing does. It makes us feel something. But at the end, it makes us feel like we're being our best selves in some way. whether that could be something to help our business or personal life, by the clothes that we wear, the tools that we use to help our business. If you can paint those vivid pictures of how it's going to help me, right, then you're golden. You're gonna get people's attention that way.
Yeah, totally. And I hear two really important points coming out of what you have been saying, Terry. One is the importance of psychology. The other one is like features versus benefits. So I want to talk about features versus benefits. And as I mentioned, after like last year was my kind of official year to become an entrepreneur. I quit my job, launched my own school, and I was selling programs online. And the biggest mistake I made was I listed all the features. Join my program, you will get A, you will get B. I had a long list of features, but I didn't mention any benefits. Why is this feature important? So explain to us, why is this important?
Yeah, features obviously are great. And it gets back to, though, just wanting to talk about how shiny and new and cool our product is. Again, it doesn't tell how cool the person can be using it. Features are really just the tools. You're giving them these tools to achieve something. But why would you why start there when you can talk about what they're going to achieve first? So again, the products and the features, they're just a tool to achieve this benefit. So the benefits are really this emotional, sense of like, I'm better with this. Like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I needed. You're having a little bit more empathy by understanding their pain points, and being like, hey, look, we understand this stinks, but this can help you. Right. And we're talking about that benefit instead of just talking about, the product and the features all the time.
Yeah. I wonder, this may seem abstract to some people. I wonder if you can give us some examples. Feel free to use your personal examples, some of the cases that you worked with clients, or some example online you think they're doing a great job. So give us a few examples so we really understand this, because this is really important. And after I discovered that, when I started to run my program for the second time, I was talking about, okay, this is a feature. The reason I added this was so that you can get this. And people started to finally, in my program, they actually get it. So, so can you give us some examples to help us further understand this?
Yeah, to flip it from features to benefits. So I've used some of these examples before in some content that really resonated with people. But for example, like if you have a task management tool, like an Asana or a Trello or a Monday,
I love Asana.
Yeah, same. And so it could just be like we are reimagining or we are redefining task management. Like, what does that necessarily mean? It could be something as just like experience powerful task management. That sounds like something you've seen before, right? Dr. I and people watching, we like talking about experience the power of blank. But what does that mean? I can't really visualize anything. Task management, we can be more specific there. So like the features are these tools of just like, hey, have a see it all your calendar, have this and that all in one tool. But what is the benefit? And you can flip it to enjoy one app to accomplish your to-do list instead of 7, right? Instead of having all these 7 tabs open. So you can flip that around. And then once you have explained these benefits of what they do, so it's just like the email organizer helps you achieve what, right? So then you just have that framework in mind.
Yeah, powerful. I love it, right? When you say that, like 1 tab instead of 7 tabs, and I can immediately see that in my mind and then feel the pain, right? Like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I like to use this example too. It's like sell the fresh cup of coffee, not the coffee pot, right?
Wow.
It's just like, yeah, this is what we want to talk about, but it's like, but let's talk about that first sip feeling that you get and how good you feel for those 5 minutes drinking your coffee in the morning, right? Like, it doesn't matter what coffee that is. It's just like, I want that if it's going to make me feel this way, right? It's just like talking about the coffee pot and how it has, a longer battery life and it just gets you this and that. I mean, like sell the emotional benefit first, get them hooked, and then talk about why these features can still help you achieve that underlying foundation that you've set the tone for.
Yeah, totally. Do you see that many copywriters are still making this mistake based on the copies that you review and the clients that you work with?
Yeah, yeah. I see mistakes here and there from other copywriters, and a lot of it is just like coming with practice and things like that. Sometimes you can lose sight of it. And sometimes Dr. I, it's what the client wants, at the end of the day too. It's like, hey, we want to start with this phrase, but it's really just knowing some of these, foundational things and these like formulas that can really help, reframe and just take the customer and the reader on a journey. And sometimes, we ask too soon. I see with copywriters, like we haven't really gave them a reason to trust us yet. So then like we're asking them to buy right away. But yeah, I mean, I see it sometimes, and sometimes like we and ours make sense, but it's just, you have to really be, self-aware of the times. Like bigger companies can get away with, we help you achieve this if they've already built a lot of brand awareness. But still, a lot of the big companies, they kind of use this same type of framework that we're discussing right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you say like Nike, right? Just do it. Very, very simple, very concise, only 3 words. But like for a new entrepreneur like myself, if I try that, people will be like, what are you exactly doing?
Yeah, exactly. It takes time to really, harness that tagline and have that type of brand authority. I know like Squarespace had a really cool campaign recently where they just said a website makes it real instead of just talking about how easy it is to make a website. So this is a great example of the benefit of the benefit. Like the first benefit is this tool that helps you make a website easily, right? But the benefit of the benefit is it makes your business come true. Like it makes this dream idea come to life because you can create a website for it, which I thought was brilliant.
I love that. The benefit of the benefit, right? I'm going to remember that from now on.
Simple,
when I
right?
check copies, I would, what's the benefit of the benefit? I love it. Yeah. Great.
It's so simple. I've done workshops before where like, if we're on a topic, I'm like, all right, guys, explain to me, what is this emotional benefit of the benefit? Like, how do they feel after they get, after they get this part of the problem, but what else does it do? And I think sometimes that can get lost where it's like, we talk about, specific benefit. It's like save hours by having this tool, but it's like, could be like, get your Sundays back is like a little bit more of an emotional benefit, right? We can
totally. I love it. And now I'm thinking about weight loss, right? So it's not just about losing that 5 pounds, but hey, what's the benefit of losing that 5 pounds? Maybe you gain more confidence once COVID is over, right? You go to that bar and you have that hot date and the sense of like confidence, freedom,
you
So
you fit into those jeans that you've been wanting to for a couple years.
I need that
dress in the back of the closet. Yeah. Self-confidence is huge. Yeah, exactly. Weight loss is a great example of it. And the great ones really do sell that benefit of the benefit really well.
Well, I think many copies that I visit, I review are just like the first layer, talking about some of the superficial benefits. But especially if you are selling a high ticket, which is something that I do, and if you are not very clear about the benefit of the benefit, and then you have that high price, people are like, what are you even talking about, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And again, it just goes back to using a lot of visualization and aspirational language to really grab the reader's attention.
Yeah, totally. So I hope everyone got this, features versus benefits, the benefit of the benefit. And it is so important. You and I were talking about like students don't really learn about this from their traditional classes. So I hope everyone is like taking notes. So now let's talk about the psychology, right? And you have your own podcast and on your own live streaming show and quite a few episodes, you were talking about the importance of tapping into psychology to make our writing more compelling, more persuasive. So explain to us, what's the connection between copywriting and psychology, and what's the intersection, like how to integrate both?
Yeah, I always love diving into this, and because like I've read, I touched on it. I read a handful of books and trying to learn this more, like why consumers buy, like what motivates them. And really like copywriting, it's really the art of persuasion, right? But how can we motivate them? How do we influence them to take action, to buy? And so there's just a lot of like tips and tricks that you can use We've touched on visualization, and some of that just goes back to like using metaphors and being more specific with your language. So if you're saying something is really powerful, you're saying something is quality, or that we have great customer service, like flip that around. Let them see an image in their head where it's like, get a customer service representative to call you back within 24 hours. Like that's just a little bit more specific than saying, hey, great customer service. I was talking with Stephanie Liu the other day, and we were talking about how we could say something else that's powerful. And we were like, Thor-like power, right? Or Zeus-like power, because it's tangible. We can see this tangible item now, right? That's one great way. One great way too is just if you're talking about really selling any type of fear in a way, you can really still frame it of selling it to be someone's best self by like talking about how they can avoid pain. Because as human beings, Dr. I, like we've evolved to avoid painful memories and to avoid pain. Like I'm currently reading Sapiens, and in the beginning they talk about how humans have evolved because we've been able to gossip and because of our language. Like a lot of other animals don't really have that. So it's just like, hey, don't go by the end of that river over there. There's a lion that could kill you, right? So it's just like, oh, wow. Like we're telling these stories. Like, don't hang out with that person. She'll end up being like this. He'll do this to you, right? So we've been able to, our brains have been we don't want to feel pain at all, right? And even like, that's why nostalgia works so well, is because it brings us back to positive memories. Like it could have been a really crappy year, but if you see this old cereal box of that time, you just think of having all these less responsibilities and sitting at the kitchen table, having a nice, bowl of cereal right away. But that comes into play when we're talking about just like avoiding pain of just having them not feel like this person that they don't want to be. One example I like to use is I was reading this book, Invisible Influence, and it's from a psychologist, Jonah Berger, and they ran an experiment where they wanted to help this campus, this university, lower underage drinking of the students. And so they ran an ad in like these posters with like kind of like a nerd-ish, a geek-looking guy on there, and just being like, "Don't be like this guy." And it was like this geek being like drinking, and it worked. It lowered the consumption rate of alcohol because people could see that like, well, I don't want to be like this person, right? So it's social influence too, taps into psychology as well.
Yeah, I love, like, can you give us some specific, I assume, like verbs or adjectives that will make it easier for people to kind of to paint the picture, to visualize this? Because I don't feel like this is how people kind of talk naturally or something. Like at least
that makes sense.
More intentional. I wonder if there are certain like magic words that we can use, and once we use those words or adjectives, people immediately will, like, their emotion will be evoked and they will be thinking about this.
One word that I love using, we've already talked about you, which is one of the most influential words in copywriting and marketing, but the word imagine is fantastic, because if you just start with imagine back when, or imagine your life achieving this, like we're already just painting this picture for them. They're going to start selling things to themselves at this point. Like we got them hooked here. And it goes back to just like mirror coupling, where it's just like when we start hearing a story and like the dopamine rushes to our brain, like something new emotional is happening, we start putting ourselves in this story. And so the word imagine is really powerful. And like I talked about nostalgia, how well that sells. But like starting a sentence with remember when, right? Or like the original or classic, even like aged cheddar, stuff like that just makes it sound more old and classic, but we like that. We like that when we're looking at different descriptions. So like original, classic, imagine, remember when, a lot of those strike with psychology. And then like when you're writing headlines, I love using the what is this formula, where it talks about like top 10 advisors do this, or like, can you help me answer this question? And this just opens up a door, like opens up this loop in our head that we want to close. Like, what is this? Like it gets us to read that next line, right? So even just having something like that and to start a line, it can get people to keep reading.
Well, you mean like start like a paragraph by saying, what is this?
Yeah, or like an email subject line is great. A headline for an article. But we like use it a lot. Like if you send emails, Dr. I'm sure you've done it before and not even realized it, but it's super impactful. And I get some of my best open rates from using like just this in there of just like, can you help me answer this question? It just gets them curious. Like, what is this? What do I want to know? It's like, you should be avoiding this when it comes to blank, and people just get interested. It strikes curiosity.
Wow, powerful. I love those. I can't wait to try them. I recently did a post. So a few educators and myself, we are actually organizing a 24-hour global classroom. We have like students already from 22 countries registered. So I did a copy. I started by saying, imagine this, 10,000 students from 34 countries and 53 states. And like people are like, oh my God, like that post did really well. And my first like, wow, I need to copy that post. So I started with imagine this. And really, really powerful. I love those.
That stuff really works. And like the more every time you blank, like what would it be like if, like we're like getting them to think and imagine themselves. Like we don't have to necessarily use the word imagine all the time. There are some other phrases that you can use for sure.
Yeah, totally. I wonder if you can go back earlier. You mentioned like selling fear. Yeah, I wonder if you can elaborate on that a little bit and give us some examples. Yeah.
So like the fear of missing out, and like I talked about it with the one like underage drinking one, obviously of just like we don't want to feel like this person, right? But really, it's just like the fear of missing out is really the big thing of it. Like negative terms can work. We've seen it work. Like of selling this fear of like what's maybe being taken away from you. But again, positive language really always kind of prevails in my experience. But yeah, the fear of missing out is really big when it comes to like psychology, because we don't want to miss out. We want to feel part of something. That's why influencer marketing is so big. We want to feel as cool as that person is when they're wearing or using this product. So that's really what I want to touch on when it comes to like selling. If you're going to sell to fear, sell like the fear of the person that, we don't want to be. And you can use language like avoid making this mistake, or like really bad people do this, right? Type of messaging.
Or on the other hand, right? In my case, I say I did a post, forward thinking parents are doing this, right? So it's like you are seeing the other side, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Yeah, people are loving those tips, and thank you for joining us live, Katie. Yeah,
Katie,
exactly.
Thank you. Yeah, Katie Ruby, I see is commenting. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, what would it be like if really cool? I agree. Yeah, really, Hillary. Thank you. Yeah, I agree. Although I need to rewatch this part. I think you definitely gave lots of really great tips, and selling like fear, and even what do you think about words like taste, touch, like those like
I'm glad you brought that up too, because that just really appeals to our senses. And a lot of times we think with our words, we really can't do this. We can't get somebody to smell something, right? We can't get can't necessarily always get somebody to hear something, right? But even using those words like listen up, that just means like we automatically think of our ears like we're going to hear something, right? But we're reading it. And the word touch, the word feel, the word look, the word open, right? All these are human actions. Like we can relate to that. Like that's relatable to me. Opening up, using only one tab instead of 5, like that's, relatable. Answer the door from anywhere. Like that's, I can picture myself, doing those things. But yeah, like descriptional copy, you can do it, which like fresh picked strawberries, right? Applewood smoked bacon. That stuff just gets you, it kind of triggers a lot of senses. You can imagine that. You can already probably imagine what it tastes like. Different words like that, I think are super important to include.
Tasting, because our brain couldn't really tell the difference between you are actually, seeing this versus the imagination. If I start to talk about a lemon, everyone is going to be like, oh my God, sour, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. And that's what it goes back, like using metaphors too, which is like, this is as sour as a lemon, something like that. It really brings up a personal experience, like a personal emotion that people can experience.
Yeah, I love using metaphors myself. If you can use a good one, it is so good. Like when I have I would love you to share some metaphors with us. So I have 2 tiers program. One is just the average one. Another one is more like an elite program. So when I explain the program to the parents, I say that the elite program is like hiring a personal chef. Not only is the chef, cooking for you, whatever your favorite food is, but we are designing a really good menu for you based on nutrition, this and that. And so parents, they will get it, right? So do you have some good, powerful metaphors to share with us?
Oh man, I love, on the spot, Dr. I love yours though, because that is just great. It's like having it's like having a personal chef. It's just like it's having the power of Zeus in your hands. Because I like to go back when we're talking about the word powerful. It could smell like fresh picked strawberries from the field. It could be something like that. But like even with your services, you can put them around metaphors similar how you did, right? Like you could talk about like, are you this type, like how many scoops of ice cream do you want per se? You could do, there's like a variety of ones. Sorry if I'm not like off the complete top of my head.
No worries. I just So here is a question from Samuel. Thank you for joining us live. So he wants to lure a few more examples. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's all good.
It's imagination, like phrases. I love it. Yeah, imagine this like an ideal situation. Try it. Works really, really well.
Yeah. You know what? It's just like you can even say like, let me tell you this story, because then like even that just starts leading into like they're going to get hooked because they know a story is coming. But even like just pretend is a good one to use. Right? Just pretend that this is happening to you. It helping us visualize. Picture this is another great one as well.
Yeah. Definitely picture this, right? Like when I have coaching calls with my potential leads, I will ask them, hey, like picture this. You want to have more income, you want to have more impact. Picture this. How will having that make you feel now? And they'll be like, so good, right?
Yeah. Like, have you ever experienced this before? Like, have you ever experienced XYZ and insert that into it?
Yeah.
People think too. Yeah.
I love this.
Great question. Thank you.
Have this copywriting Bible. You can pretty much sell anything to everyone.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
So I also want to talk a few more about this kind of psychological factor. And on your own podcast, please do share the name with us so people can check it out. And so you were talking about saving time versus saving money. So explain to us from the psychological perspective, which one is more persuasive? Yeah,
absolutely. And the word time, just even mentioning it, like I've seen studies, and I've read this book Brainfluence by Martin Lindstrom. It's a great book, and he's done a couple of different books. Like he's written oh gosh, I can't think of the name, but Brainfluence is the one book that I was reading. He says even the mentioning of time helps increase sales. And it's just like, Doctor, I like think back to like it's Miller time for Miller Lite. Or if you start a phrase where just like there's no better time than right now, or like time is up, time is now. Like the reason that's so effective is because time is this resource that none of us have enough of. Like we wish we could get more time in the day. We wish we could have it, but it's not a renewable resource. So it's just like, what are we going to do here? And so that's why it's so impactful. And if you're talking about saving money all the time, like there's a lot of competition out there. So there's a lot of inexpensive competition, cheap competition. And so why talk about how much money you can save and talk about really the other benefits of time that they can save? And again, it can go back to our conversation about the emotional benefit of the benefit, but saving time has been proven to really work. And there's a lot of ads that you see, that reference, a sense of time. It goes back to a little bit of like nostalgic that I talked about, being nostalgic in your marketing. But yeah, sometimes just referencing time just gets people's attention.
Yeah, I love it. Especially, I don't know what everyone is selling. Like for me, I don't compete on price. My program is a high touch, like highly personalized educational program. And so I don't really mention save money. Like definitely they're not saving money, but they're saving so much time, right? So when people are hiring me, they're hiring like I have been in the classroom for 10 plus years. I'm in coaching program myself right now. So they are not paying for that 1 hour working with me, but like the 10 plus years and all the thousands of dollars I have invested to make myself better. So it's just like I can save them so much time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you can just talk about like add value to your price point and just like seeing what everything, what everything else that you can get. Like you can add in all these bonuses that, again, probably reference a lot about saving time because they're getting this streamlined for them, so super effective.
Yeah, I love it. And also you talked about, when we learn in copywriting or when you are building an argument, like at least in my case, every time when I say the traditional education model is broken, I have at least 3 cases or claims to support my argument. And I will frequently quote, statistics like numbers. You mentioned in one of your live stream that don't say 90%, 70%, but there is actually a better way to say that that is more persuasive. So share that better way with us, because I didn't know that at all.
Yeah. If you have the data, for sure, but it's really about referencing it to people, something that, humans can visualize. Because when you say save, like customers are saving 90%, like we can't really visualize that. But if you say 9 out of 10 customers are saving, or 9 out of 10 customers are saving XYZ, that we can picture now. Like we could see a group of people, we could see our neighbors, 10 houses in a row, 9 of them now are saving on energy bills, something like that. Like that's more impactful. That's relatable to us. That means something to us compared to just like, hey, households are saving 90%, but it's like your neighbors, like 9 out of 10 neighbors are saving. That makes a bigger difference.
That is so powerful. Just like a very small tweak, like a simple change. It's like, wow, it's like heaven and earth, right? Like big big difference. Yeah. Really.
Yeah, no, it's great. And like in another example in that Invisible Influence book, they talk about this company, Opower, which they're a SaaS company that hands out utility bills, really. And what they realized would help them save a bunch of energy, help people save energy, was social influence and social proof. So they use numbers of just like your neighbors are saving this much and you fall into this category, right? So it's just like, it seemed more relatable. And it's just like, well, we want to be like other neighbors. We don't want to be the household that, that saves the least amount of energy on our block, right? So that stuff works.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, I want to share the screen of this book, Invisible Influence. This book you recommend, right, Terry?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's super good. a lot of the examples I mentioned, they're mentioned in there and they go in a little bit deeper into things, but it's really good.
Yeah, I can't wait to check this. Oh, I know this guy. Yeah. And I can't wait to check out this book. And like really talking about tapping into the psychology, right? Yeah.
These just invisible, they call it like invisible influences that just like shape our behavior, because like people's actions all the time influence what we do. And it goes into a lot of details about that. And it's just like why I like to use visualization a lot, like in copy, just trying to paint those vivid pictures.
Totally. And when you mentioned that 9 out of 10 people in my neighborhood, I was like, wow, immediately like, hey, Susan and Jason, like, like lovely, like real people, like jumping into my mind. I feel that's why, like we read news all the time, how many people died from COVID. Just like after a while, you just become so numb, right? They're just like numbers. But when you say like 9 out of 10 neighbors and I just feel like, wow, all of a sudden they become a lot more real and closer to my heart than reading the 20%, 30% numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like when you want to do a percentage like that, like you can relate it to people, like 100 out of 120 people. And you bring up a good point. Like if you're talking about just like the impact like of COVID numbers, or just like trying to like influence, like, hey, we're saving, you guys are impacting, a group of kids in Africa, something like that. But really, if you paint like one picture of one person, like we can relate to that more. So it kind of like ties in, like telling a story of that one person, it makes a bigger impact in that way. But you're not talking about percentages there, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. What an amazing masterclass, right, so far. So we're
Yeah.
just wrapping it up here, but I do want to ask you
Wow.
and to
Time's
talk about
flying.
headline, because I think,
Hmm.
regardless of for our website or writing an article or even like sending an email, the subject line, like that very first sentence is so critical that determines whether or not people are going to read the entire article. I remember when Neil Patel on my show, he shared a number. I forgot the number. It's like a high percentage of number of people only read the headline
Right.
before they decide if they want to consume the entire article. So you have a really powerful like formula to write headline, which is PAS. So can you explain that to us?
Yeah, the PASS formula is a great formula to help you start a headline and then get into the rest of your copy. So it could be your homepage. A lot of it's used in landing pages and sales copy, but it stands for problem, agitate, and solution. Now, sometimes people say pain instead of problem. It could go either way, but really that first one is like, think about the pain points and the problems that your people face. Like what happens to them in that day when they wake up that really makes them upset and that feels pain, right? And then when you have that, then you want to agitate it. So you want to give them the hope. You don't want to say that there's no hope there, but by agitating it, you're basically just telling them like, I understand you right now. Like this problem stinks. And then we get into the solution of how to solve it. And so when you're writing a headline, if you can somewhat address a problem in there first that they're dealing with, you're going to get their attention because it acts like, again, they make it feel like you're listening to them, like you're having empathy and understand what's happening. It goes back to, we want to avoid pain. So if you bring up this problem, right, and we can relate to that, it's like, okay, they understand me. Now they're offering a solution. This is great. This is what I was looking for. But yeah, with your headline, talk about a problem, like how to get from blank to blank, but you're addressing a problem in there. But yeah, I mean, and honestly, to piggyback on that, Dr. I, like a great way to come up with headlines, I've shared this like in my newsletter and on some content recently, is to go to Amazon Books. It's a great resource to find good headlines because you see these titles of the books. Like if you just type in your industry, like if you type in marketing or like CBD industry, I use that as a good example just because there's a lot of books on there. But like, don't read the actual title. The subtitle is the promise, right? The subtitle promises.
This one, perfect example, right?
Yes, exactly. Right. And like your headline could be like, discover the 5 hidden forces that shape your behavior. That's your headline. Because like, again, that subtitle of the book promises you something in some way, right? So you can flip it around and you can tailor it to what your topic is. So it's like, experience this revolutionary blank, like sometimes books use that. But if you type in your industry or a topic, you can get a lot of great ideas that way.
Yeah, let's do a quick.
Yeah, let's see if we can, like the 1-page marketing plan there, get new customers, make more money.
That's the promise.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can flip that and create a headline from there of just like, discover how to get new customers and stand out from the crowd. Or like the secret.
I love this.
Yeah. The secret.
The 6 pillars of building a 7+ figure online business, right? That's the promise. 7+ figure.
Right. Yeah. Flip that around. Yeah. Like the two things you need to do to build a 7-figure online business, something like that. Got a lot of good people commenting. This is great.
Yeah.
Sept Godin, your friend who's been on this show, which has been awesome.
Yeah, I love Seth Godin. Yeah,
but yeah, it's a great tool or resource to have. They're laying out this formula for you. So that's what I like to do.
So now I see this. It's so like, Donald Miller, love his work, like a step-by-step story brand guide for any business. Yeah, a step-by-step guide. Yeah, absolutely. Like ultimate guide, like the ultimate guide to social media marketing. My friend Mark Schaefer has come to my show twice. I love Mark's work. Even this book, Marketing Rebellion. Here's the promise, right? The most human company wins. Wow.
Yeah. Learn how to be a human company. Something like that could be your headline. And it just like gets people's attention.
Yeah, and also you offer that solution, right? Like
exactly,
Yeah. Wow, this is so powerful. Yeah, thanks for sharing this. So, what's the PAS? PAS? What is
Yes,
it?
yeah. Problem, agitate, solution. And so just to touch on that quickly, like if you have that formula there to use your headline, we'll just like discover the 5 steps to build a 7-figure online business. And then the agitate, the A is bringing up examples like of like really agitate that pain where it's like, you have this great idea, but you just can't get over the hump. Something like that, where you bring up some examples where you could say like 9 out of 10 people do this, right? And then you just start offering the solution.
Yeah, totally. Just give me an idea because I frequently throw stones at the online education model. And I can say that, you think online education is the solution to children's future. Guess what? Only 15 out of 100 students actually complete an online class. So online is really not the solution. What is the solution? I can talk about my problem, right? But agitate them there a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It just gets people hooked. It keeps their attention.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and you kind of throw them off a little because they think, oh, they are actually doing this. That is the solution, but they are actually missing the picture. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You make them feel worse, right?
Yeah. It's just like, again, you want to just have them like feel like you're understanding them and just be like, hey, look, I get it. We've been there, but look, there's still some hope. There's some good news here that we can fix this. But you're just being relatable to them. You're like, oh my gosh, 15 out of 100. It's like, wow, okay, yeah, I've experienced like, wow, that's insane. And it's just like, now we get to the solution part of it. It's like, oh, okay, now you can help me. It's like, I feel that. It's like, I don't want to be like this anymore. Like, I'm tired of, being in this category or feeling like this. And then you start talking about the benefit of the benefit. And then
you paint that future. Everything has come together.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh, thank you for stopping by, Deepika. And
thank you.
Yeah. So the replay will be on my LinkedIn, on all the social media channels. I will make sure to send you a link. Yeah. So wow, what an amazing conversation. And so anything else related to effective copywriting that we need to know about we haven't had a chance to discuss?
Oh wow. I don't know. I know we covered a lot here, and I know obviously there's still, a lot more to uncover too with copywriting in general. But, it's a really, like we talked about how, it's an important skill to have. But there are a lot of resources and ways, that you can learn it for yourself and for your business. And just even having that reframe of mind of just like talking to your customer, like, again, let them know how cool they can be instead of how cool you are. Like reframing it that way in the beginning can just come up with a lot of other ideas. Like my big thing is like, Doctor, I don't want to reinvent the wheel or give them all these new rules to follow. It's just like, you guys are smart, you're creative. Like as a business owner, a lot of times they know their business, they know what they want to say. It's just like, I'm just trying to provide an outlet in some new ways to get those creative ideas out there so they can reach their customers, and ultimately just get them to take action.
Yeah, and purchase, give you money, right? Totally. Yeah. So share some, share with us. Where can people connect with you, learn from you, your podcast, and the free downloads? So you, and also share some additional resources that people can learn more about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Start with you first. Yeah.
If you guys go to terryschillingwrites.com, that's my website, and you'll see a link where you guys can go subscribe to my newsletter. And you can also see a little bit more about my services and some of the past work I've done, like the Cool Copy newsletter that I put out weekly. And then I also have some free downloads once you get in there. So if you click any of those and you see free downloads or products, I have a couple of things. But free downloads, I have a ultimate homepage copy playbook. And then I have how to write about what you do for a living. So, and that one just comes to, if you've ever been networking, and now we're doing obviously more virtual networking events. But it's like, oh, so Terry, what do you do? It's like, what do you say to that? Does it change every single time you do it? Or do you wish you had like a structured way that just like really started a good conversation? And so I have like a 3-step guide in there to help write it yourself, and give some context to that. So that's been pretty popular. Been getting a lot of good responses from that one.
Yeah, now I want to endorse that for sure. I downloaded both of them. I have been reading, highlighting, and so definitely get a copy. Yes.
Yeah. And then, for larger companies and just for agencies, if anybody's out there watching, I've started a new project called Copy for Your Company. So if you go to copyforyourcompany.com, you can learn a little bit more. I do some virtual trainings and some copywriting workshops. I can do audits for other marketing materials and do master classes with your team. Just to kind of like, we condense a lot of some of the things we talked about, gives you guys some exercises and examples to use this yourself and how to just really change how you write and challenge differently about, or make your customers feel like challenge, like how you solve their problems. And so and that's been fun. I've been doing a handful of workshops too, Dr. I, and it's been really cool being on the other side, like more teaching copy and giving more of these examples and really empowering people to be copywriters.
Oh,
Which is so much fun.
Yeah, so you don't just give them fish, you teach them how to go fishing. I love
Yeah, exactly.
As a teacher myself, I actually discovered oftentimes I thought I understood something until I actually started teaching it. I was like, yeah, I actually had a blind spot here. I had to revisit. So if you can teach others, means that you definitely 100% understood.
Yeah, I feel you. It's been so much fun. I recently did a workshop and one of the attendees was just like, oh my, I wish I had a professor like this in college teaching this stuff, like one part of it, like one class. I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a cool compliment to get.
Totally. I mean, like, you should definitely meet my friend Julia McCoy, and she's a hacker, and she has been sharing this with me for quite a few years, that the students need to learn this while they are at school. And unfortunately, they don't learn. We need more good. I think we need more teachers who are practitioners. It's definitely not teachers out. But like the entire system doesn't really encourage teachers becoming practitioners. But anyway, that's kind of my take on this.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, so that, you can find those stuff on my website, terryschillingwrites.com, Copy for Your Company. The Copy Corner podcast, if you search on that on like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, we're there. What's great about those is we do them every week and they're all less than 10 episodes. So they're super digestible. You know, quick listens, quick tips to help you write better copy. And then I also do a Proceed with Passion live show in my Facebook group and on YouTube. And my Facebook group is the Copy Co-op. A lot of great people in there. And I do some live mini master classes in there. And again, I have those interviews with other creative entrepreneurs. But then like go on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. I'm there too, especially on LinkedIn. I'm really active. So connect with me, say hi, say, saw you on Dr. I's show. Great to connect, and we'll start a conversation.
Awesome. And here's Terry's LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Definitely connect with him. And thank you so much again for an incredible interview.
Oh, Dr. I, thank you so much. This was so much fun. This was so much fun. It seems like some good questions too.
Yeah, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining us live, literally from all over the globe. I really appreciate you guys. And you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day or evening or afternoon. I hope to see you next Wednesday or Thursday for some of you, the same time, same location. Take care. Bye.
All right, bye everybody. Thank you so much.